Okay, for the next flight, I came in here and made some modifications. I added a gimbal orientation right here. You can click here and add another one. I'm going to delete that one. I don't really want to have. I went into all of these. This is a plan. We would call it a waypoint mission in ArduPilot, but this is a plan in Dronelink, and the plan consists of components. You can see right here, add new components, and this is some of the components down here. Just another, when two different human beings make up software, they just come up with a whole different idea of how to do it. And if you're going to use both their softwares, you're going to have to learn how both of them decided to do it and memorize it. So anyway, I came into all of these and added a gimbal orientation for minus 45 degrees from the horizontal. Oops. Close this one. You can see this one. If I scroll down, there's your minus 45 degree from the horizontal. I guess you can't just scroll through these, can you? Nope. Okay. Anyway, trust me. Minus 45 degrees from the horizontal. Done on that component. This rotation, I changed from 10. Can't see what it's saying there because of my darn. There we go. Degrees per second. And see, I thought of 360 that 10 degrees per second. 360 it'd be 36. It'd be a large time period. Anyway, right now it's set to 5 degrees per second. It was set to 10 degrees per second. So that should slow down the rotation there at the end. And then I may come in here and add a command, a drone command of return home. Obstacle avoidance. Don't know if I want to do that because that may. I might try smart return home because return home obstacle avoidance might try to retrace my tracks. Anyway, the problem right now is that after it finishes all this up, in the main settings here, I have action on finish, return to home, and it shuts off the camera. I do have a camera capture set down here for video to always do a video capture, but as a default for everything, that doesn't seem to work. So I wonder if these override. Anyway, this rotation time, I'm going to come and change this to 10 from 45. I don't know if that will change my rotation time on all these rotations inside here or what. Here's your descent and ascent rate. Like say this is 10 feet per second. That's pretty quick. I'm going to lower that as a general. I'm going to take that down to 5 feet per second. I'm going to take that down to 3 feet per second. 30 feet, it'd take 10 seconds. 160 feet. Maybe I'll jump that back up to 5. Okay. Rotation, the rest of this I don't want to set as global defaults. So I will click done. Let's go inside here and see if any of these did change. Descent rate 5 did change right there. So I think it changed everything inside of here. So, shoot. I suppose I also pulled this 4th waypoint from here basically back to here, right along our property line, rather than get out over his property. I also did pull the takeoff point, which I hope is decided inside the platform at the moment of takeoff based on its GPS instead of this plot on this map. I did zoom in on that and pulled it back from over in here to here just to put it closer to the house because there are trees right there out back. I would start from right here. You can sort of see the shadow of them, but there's power lines running right through here. Just not a great place. Maybe the yard right here on the side would be a better place to take off from. Of course, the fields over there would be a better place to take off from and land because I more than likely would be closer. Well, not closer to the target, but I would have more room for error drift without having to do anything about it. Last time I had to not take over, I let the landing continue, but you can jostle the joysticks and move the platform still right and left, forward and back. So I did move it to the right away from the tree and then did move it back 5 or 10 feet towards the target, but then I let it land in my hand. All of that wasn't captured on film, I know. Video, so sorry. Let's preview this one before we fly it. And we'll quickly look at our altitude. That's always important to me. I want to be up at that 160 feet. I think 160 feet was clearing those trees pretty well last time. I should probably lower that, but we'll do that later. And it's not moving horizontally until I'm at altitude. That's still good. I don't have any problem with that. So I'll preview this. With the gimbal change that I made, as this is coming up in altitude right here in the simulation, the gimbal 45 degrees down is reflected in the screen over here to the right. So I do hope that's exactly the way that it will end up in my flight. That's what I'm shooting for. So we'll make this small again. That's my wife coming down the steps. And not sure if I wanted it at a 45. I'll probably do one at an angle, straight down. I like this one. That's what I would rather see in this shot. So that's what I will fly next. And it's going over the field. I'm going to speed this up times 2. I doubt I will see myself positioned exactly over the field with the gimbal at this angle, but I do see a little more. Now it's heading for that field out front. That stand of trees right there in this Google map, by the way, are no longer there. Actually, today they ground up the stumps on each side of the yard. Other front field, it's going towards the landlord's current house. His is sort of obscured by the trees, but his... Oh, no, it's not. There it is. Oh, yeah. I hope I slowed down those rotations on this one. And you can see the blue or bluish green there. That's where it took off from behind the house. That's the driveway going around the house. Hopefully it'll come back down in there. And I guess for this rotation out here above the property line, I could bring the gimbal back up. I don't think there's a lot of sense in the rotation here, but we'll just let it do it this time and see what happens. And it is a slower rotation. I think I slowed that from 10 to 5, and hopefully I slowed the rotations in the global defaults to 5 or 10 also. Go back and look at that in a second. So yeah, that looks like a cool flight to me. I could probably done a 270 there instead of a 360. But this is all can redo it, and there it is, starting the simulation over again. So let's put that one in it and fly it and see what happens. Take off. I don't know if that's slower on the vertical or not, and I'm not exactly sure that the modified mission got into the drone. But this is a learning experience. That's why we keep doing these experiments. I have successfully created a route around the property at an elevation that I think is safe for everybody, and I'll just keep modifying little things and get what I want. And then I can branch out doing some other things. Again, I tried to tilt the gimbal down manually. It really doesn't let me there. It did at the end of the video after it was doing return to home. Return to homes are called many things. Return to launch, return to home. Please save me. The old crap button. All sorts of stuff like that. I generally call them return to launch or return to home. Not sure what Dronelink calls it. Those rotations still seem to be pretty violent to me. Just it's a small platform, it's small props, just don't want it bending them, etc. I'll continue to work on that. And the gimbal tilt did not work. There is multiple gimbal channels in that option. I'm not sure which number it should be. This is on 0. Next time I'll try 1. If you tilt the gimbal down and you don't get all that bright white for the white balance in the upper, then the whole picture looks better. This picture's too bright. But now that I'm not having to see to fly it, so to speak, because of my poor eyesight, I can adjust the exposure down darker and just keep track of the altitude of the drone and consider that it's doing what I tell it. And the more successful flights I get, the more I can trust that. But right now I see I can still work on that rotation at waypoints, and I can work on my vertical speed. I can work on my gimbal setting. Maybe if I don't put a gimbal setting in at all, I just do it manually during the flight, it'll work. Learning. At the end of this rotation again, it went into return to home. Well, that fire's getting going. And it shut off the video again. So I tried to turn it back on the handset, even though it was in its return to home phase, and it worked. It seemed to work. I did get some of the return to home video at this time. And right here's where that starts. There it rotated. I think it's going up to my return to home altitude in the drone instead of what I said here. I'll have to pay attention to that in the future. And here it is positioning itself over the home point. And I was able to control the gimbal here. Now you can see I'm coming down. I'm about even with those pine trees out straight in front of me. Now the hardwoods are coming up. And these hardwoods are tall. And as you can see, they're leafy. Have all sorts of nooks and crannies that this little bitty 249 gram drone can just hang up in and stay up in there for 6 months. This one came down very, very, very close to the landing takeoff point. I had to move it about 5 feet or so away from the house, but I like this.